Great day, beautiful people, and welcome to the Now with Dr. Davina Jones. Now stands for Navigating Opportunities to Win. So it is my goal to bring you examples, case studies, special guests, to give you an opportunity to see how you can take your right now, take where you are, take where you've been, and find a way to win. Well, I am so excited today because my special guest is someone that hired me, someone that I work for. I've said to her several times, I can tell you on one hand, maybe half of one hand, how many people I am willing to work for again. And she is one of them. Such a bright light in my world and just a beautiful part of my life story. So it is my pleasure and my delight to introduce you to Dr. Margo Martin. Thank you for being on the show with me today.
Oh my gosh, Davina, it's a pleasure, and that is such a generous sentiment. So thank you.
But it's true, and I've told you that off camera. So it's, I don't have to manufacture that to be on camera. You and I, we met in higher education.
We did.
And now listen, I'm gonna put a number out there because I think it was 2007 or 8 when you hired me.
That sounds about right.
And you were dean. You hired me as faculty. And it really was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Because you get it. You knew what it meant to be in the trenches and all of that. So you and I have been in higher ed. You continued in administration.
Yes.
I eventually went into administration. As you continued, your last title, because we're going to talk about this transition, because both of us have since transitioned from the 9 to 5 in higher ed. And we're both at this point of navigating our opportunities to win. But your last role, tell us about your last role in higher education.
Sure. So my experience at the executive level involved serving as a vice president, as well as acting president of the college for a bit. But my parting role was chief for accreditation and institutional effectiveness, which is a mouthful that in essence is really about continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm. And individuals that might not readily recognize the dimension of those titles and what they mean, she was really important to making sure the college functioned, really important to making sure that faculty, had the support that we needed to do the job that we were hired to do, making sure that we kept our eye on, the end goal of student success. Yes. And making sure that we had a balance, because I've said this before, there is education and there is the business of education.
Absolutely.
And it's sometimes challenging to deal with, the balance of both of them, because sometimes something that's working for education doesn't really fit into the business of it. And what fits into the business doesn't really fit into education. But you've been doing this for a while, and I'm going to get to the transition. But before I do that, tell me about some of your best moments in education or the business of education or somewhere in between. What are some of your highlights?
Absolutely. I think that what's been so special about my career is that I've been in spaces where I've been able to get past what my specific role is and to serve as a connector. And that could be work in the community, that could be work with business and industry, but it's always been about how can I better the experience of whoever my stakeholders were, whether that was the community college student, or maybe somebody that was receiving services in the nonprofit sector. And it was really about leveraging resources.
Yes.
I've got this, but you've got something over here. But if we put these things together, we can do more.
Yes.
We can do more for more people.
Yes.
And really elevate. And I have to tell you that so many of my mentors, my former supervisors, had confidence in me.
Wow.
And trusted me enough to just be able to push me into the deep end of the pool and know that I was going to represent appropriately. But then to be able to interact, I had a chance to work with the mayor's early literacy policy council.
I remember that. You got to tell us a little bit
Jacksonville.
about that. I remember that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Mayor Payton was really focused on how can we promote early literacy
Mm-hmm.
in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And through that project, we actually had a chance to completely revamp the way we were providing training for the Child Development Associate, which was the CDA, which is what people needed as a minimum credential to work in a child care facility. And so working through the college, we were able to partner with the people around the city that delivered CDA training. We developed a common curriculum. So no matter where in the city you took that training, you had an automatic articulation to Florida State College at Jacksonville.
Wow.
And then we were able to build a baccalaureate degree in early childhood education. So there was a true career ladder for those entities. And so we partnered with Episcopal Child Services, Jacksonville Children's Commission, different entities in order to make that happen and to create that pathway. Even more importantly, we developed a rating system shifting from child care centers to early learning centers across the community, which just changed the game for kids that were going to daycare.
Absolutely.
Now they were going into early literacy programming. So that's just one example, but across the 25, 30 years of being in an administrative role, I've had a chance to partner with business and industry, with nonprofits, with government organizations, to just lift up different focal populations. And that's been the best.
You're being very modest about your work, though, with the literacy program, because one of the things that I recall in an earlier conversation is just how important that program was, how important it was for you as an administrator with these resources to then connect with these individuals on behalf of the community. And I think what I remember in the conversation was that there was a moment some time ago where that program was paused or canceled for 5-6 months or something like that. And people didn't realize why it was important. Tell me about that.
Sure. So, gosh, this was in the maybe like 2008, 2009, when the economy took a big shift.
I remember that.
And I was on the board for Learn to Read Jacksonville, which is now the Literacy Alliance of Northeast Florida. And it was the one program in the city that worked with grown-ups who couldn't read. It was a confidential program, so you could come and you didn't have to tell anybody, and it was free. And so as we began to see that economic shift and we weren't getting the monies into the organization, I was on the board at the time, and we reached a crux where we actually had to suspend operations for 6 months. And it wasn't until we actually closed the program that the community was like, well, we've got these individuals that need this help. Where do we go? And it was at that point that
they knew.
They did know, and because of my role not only as a board member but as a member of the community college at the time, I kind of became the unofficial spokesperson and mouthpiece for Learn to Read. And I had folks that came out of the woodwork who wanted to help, that had nothing to do with we had a foundation that raised money for brain cancer, that found out about our plight and reached out and said, this isn't our mission, but it's our mission right now, and we're going to help you. And within a 6-month window, we were able to raise enough money to be able to reopen. We had a soft launch. We partnered with the city of Jacksonville, the Duval County Library. We shared space with them for 5 years, delivering literacy instruction. And so it really became another example of leveraging resources from across the community in order to assure that we were meeting a need that wasn't being met in any other way. And now that organization is absolutely thriving. And I shudder to think if we had not taken those crazy steps that we took and reached out and had people that wanted to help that maybe weren't the normal fit. And now today we're able to assure that grown-ups in Jacksonville who need help with reading are able to do that.
That's amazing. It's why I'd work for you again. I've told you that several times and I mean it, but I appreciate you sharing that story because for two reasons. It's going to help me segue into the next conversation that I desire to have, but also because it helps people to see that you may have a title, a role, an office, a beautiful chair, a window in your office, and all of that. But what matters is, where do you take that office? How do you transport that office into lives? How do you transport what you're doing into lives, into homes, into the community? And that's a good example of doing that. So that's just one of the reasons why I enjoy working with you so much. Now, that was a courageous moment to have something, to work with something that you enjoy, you're passionate about, and then you have to suspend it. Maybe not knowing if you would go right back to that, if you'll pick it up again. You all did. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it's suspended and it's ended. So navigating our opportunities to win supports the conversation of what happens when it's suspended or when it ends. So you and I have, we've probably ended our traditional roles in higher education. And so much is changing in higher education. Change is inevitable, so we know that. And I asked you about what you enjoyed most because I think it's important that you always move forward with gratitude. So we're going to use that story to support us moving forward with gratitude because we did some good stuff for some individuals that, we may never know their names, but the work was there and the support was there. So we're no longer in higher ed. You, my stint in higher ed ended in December of 2024. Yours ended when?
Mine ended end of July
last year.
So we're approaching, getting close to a year.
Okay. And so both of us have been in this lane of taking where we've been to give to others via coaching, consulting, and so forth. Tell me a little bit about why is that important? Why not just, take what you've done? I mean, just go to the beach, look at the sunset, leave it alone. Why still have a thirst to do something? Why?
Davina, I think for me, I have had nothing that I have accomplished has been because of me alone. Certainly, you've got to have drive, you've got to take initiative. But I have had so many individuals since the time I was a kid who have been in my corner and have seen something in me and wanted to push or propel or direct or refine. And I think about how many incredible opportunities I've had over the course of my life. Part of that is because I almost always say yes. I haven't limited myself, and I've also had the great fortune of having the space and maybe more limited responsibilities than many people might have, and so the opportunity to say yes has oftentimes been pretty easy. But it also has involved getting outside my comfort zone. So when you talk about why not just kick back on the beach and work on my tan or whatnot? It really is because I feel like I have something to offer to continue the work or the energy that's been happening. And I'll give you an example. I'm at a point in my life where I get called a lot of times to serve as a reference for people. Hey, I'm going to put you down. I'm applying for this job. And I had, once upon a time, I had somebody that I had done that. I'd called this individual. She was very much a person of influence. And I said, I'm applying for this position. It's my dream position. And I wanted to know if you would serve as a reference. And she said, send me the job announcement. She spent 45 minutes on the phone with me, peppering me with questions and asking me how to, and when I would get stumped, she would change the course of questioning. And by the time we were done, I had the skeleton of a cover letter, and I had revised what I needed to have in my resume. I have been able to repeat that model
Oh my goodness.
on countless occasions when someone has said, would you please serve as a reference for me? And I have said, what are you applying for? When is it due? What are, and then asking those questions and helping them crosswalk because oftentimes we sell ourselves short. We're like, well, I'm just doing this, or I'm doing, no.
Right.
This
right,
is
right.
how this experience ties into, because none of us, for the most part, have done the job for which we're applying if we're moving up.
Right. Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so it's a matter of taking what you've done here and how does that translate to where you're going. That's just one thing that I think I don't know what it is, but when people call me and say, I'm doing this, and I think I kind of startled them a little bit, because next thing you know, we're meeting at Starbucks or something, and then they call me later and say, I got an interview. Or even better, I got the job. And then after that, here's where I'm going next. And I had a former administrative assistant who once upon a time reminded me, she says, think of this person and 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 all the things that they're now doing. Margo, they wouldn't have been doing those things
if you hadn't
created
you did.
the space.
Yes.
And that's not to, as much as I think we all have the capacity, if we allow for it, to create a space to reach back and pull forward and propel. Because again, there's space, there's enough pie for everybody. There's space for people to thrive. And as we help others thrive, we're all going to do better.
As we help others thrive, we all rise.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling a little poetic.
Absolutely. But that's what motivates me to not just, I'm sitting on the beach and enjoying the sunset,
and at the same time,
I'm partnering with a colleague right now. We're at the very beginnings of putting together a coaching model. The things that I'm really interested in doing those, it's really certainly working with individuals, but working with teams. And in this environment where, let's face it, things are a little chaotic and unpredictable, and paradigms are shifting.
Very much so.
And people are really,
and may never go back.
And very well may never go back. And so I think finding ways to help people stay focused on the kernel of what's important. The route may change, the environment may change, the strategies may change, the tools may change. But I think it's important, if we don't lose focus on, what is that outcome that we're seeking? Because we're still going to have students who want to better themselves and have a good life. We're still going to have people in their careers that want to advance, that want to continue to grow. And we know that the rules are really nebulous right now. And are changing.
Sure.
And so finding ways that I can continue to contribute in that way that's what I'm excited about.
And what a beautiful example. I've never done that before, and I've gotten some calls. I'm applying for a job. Will you support me? And I've never taken the moment to say, send me the job description. I just said yes based on the credibility of what I'm able to answer to, how the person worked for me, worked with me. But I never gave that kind of prep interview, that drill interview. What a gift. What a gift to someone. What a gift to someone to help them move forward, taking all that you have in this suspension, in this pause, in this going to the next, and you're getting other people to their next. You're helping other people to get there as well. You have gifted our audience today. You've gifted them because we may have individuals that are watching and the light bulb just went on for them like it did for me. That's something that I can easily do. That's something, you don't have to be in higher ed to do that.
Absolutely.
You can be in any industry and get a phone call and say, okay, stop by my office, or tell you what, you got a pen, paper? Let me ask you a few questions. Any industry, you can lift somebody up with that, and you can help them navigate their opportunity to win. That's why I like you. That's why I reached out to him, like, you got to come and have a little bit of conversation. So I really appreciate, I'm so looking forward to the work that you're doing with your partner in the coaching and consulting spaces, because people are going to need it. We're in a transition with education nationwide, from top to bottom. And people are going to need some level-headed voices to help them build teams, to help us keep our eye on that bottom line, because these kids are dependent on us.
Absolutely.
Families are dependent on us.
Yes.
Communities are dependent on us, just like they were dependent on you with that literacy program. So we got to get in where we fit in. Do the work that you're passionate about doing. Do the work that you're called to do. Take the moment. Take the opportunity. Navigate it. Meditate on it. Consider it. Think about it so that you can win. I'm rooting for you. I'm believing in you, as I always say. And so let's step up to the plate. No more excuses. Let's win, and let's win together. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate you joining us today. You can always find out more about what I'm doing, what the show is doing, upcoming episodes, and so forth at drjones.now. No, drjonesnow.com. Okay, drjonesnow.com. Keep in contact with us so that we can keep in contact with you. And as you all move forward with this, you've got to come back and then tell us this is where we are. Good. And then that way people can get you on their radar. Good. So that you can show up in some spaces where people need you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
High five.
High
High
five.
10.
High 10.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. See you next time.